Imposter syndrome is slang for insecurity. I felt insecurity in swimming, in riding a bike. I was always fearful of drowning or hurting my knee. So as a child, I had insecurities around common things. I was also insecure or scared of my first kiss. Adolescent stuff I can really associate with insecurity, right? As a business person, you have to understand how my life worked out. I was getting D's and F's in school. So grown-ups were giving me negative reinforcement. And this was the 80s, and in New Jersey, and blue-collar New Jersey. So, they all were well-intended, but my teachers were not politically correct. I had teachers say that I was dumb, that I was, a loser, that I would grow up being a garbage man. And I was very fortunate because I was unable to listen to them. I did not absorb that. And there was only two reasons. One, my mother was such a positive force of reinforcement at home that I thought I was the best. But she wasn't a modern parent where it was delusional, you're the best and no consequences. It was you're the best, but if you do anything that's out of line, you're gonna really feel the wrath. And number two, the market. Listen, the market. When I was 6, I sold the most lemonade. When I was 10, I sold the most baseball cards. When I was 15, I was selling the most wine. And so the market was always telling me I was good. So I could never really have imposter syndrome in business, AKA insecurity, because it's always been a positive reinforcement. Plus I love sports. So with a sports overlay, I knew that you don't win every time. I think one of the biggest issues in our society right now is 8th place trophies. We demonize losing to children, thus rendering them to be scared of it. And I think we've created losing as a boogeyman, and now people are scared to lose. I'm gonna go very dark. I weirdly prefer to lose. Yeah, I like it. I like that feeling of my chemicals saying, okay, now let's figure it out and win next time.
Great, that's how you respond to it.
I love adversity. I love my back against the wall. I love being don't put baby in the corner. I want to be doubted. I prefer to be booed. I would have been a great athlete on the road. I would have been a super villain. I would have adored everyone booing at me.
What advice do you have for people to get more tuned in to the present and be a better listener like you just said?
Boy, there's a lot to it. I think, first of all, I think all of this, for every entrepreneur listening, it's about self-awareness. When people ask me, what's a starting point? The starting point is self-awareness. Do you know yourself? I think too many people are obsessed with wishing they were something versus focusing on what they are. And that doesn't mean don't push yourself and try new things. It just means delusion is a bad business strategy. And so, not everyone's cut out to be a salesman or an artist or a project manager or a product designer. You've got to have a sense of who you are. So my biggest advice to everyone is, what are you passionate about? Because I think if you don't have passion, it's very hard to sustain the amount of work that is required to actually build an entrepreneurial success. I think that's disproportionately the biggest issue at hand. I don't think people understand what they're signing up for with entrepreneurship. It is a constant game of losing with occasional wins.
That is so well said.
And I don't think people understand. It's kind of like boxing. You're constantly getting punched. You're trying to punch back, but you're definitely constantly getting punched, constantly trying to dodge punches, and occasionally you get knocked down, and hopefully you get up, and occasionally you knock something out. And so, I don't think people have the intestinal fortitude or the stomach for it. And I think the only way you can actually do it is to enjoy it. When I look at my schedule, when I think about my days, when I think about how hard it is, it makes me think about people that can go to the gym for 2 hours and really go hard at it. That doesn't come natural to me. I don't like that. I do it because I want to be healthy and I want to live longer and all those things, but it is not enjoyable to me. It does not come natural. On the flip side, doing a 12-hour straight entrepreneurial day with 65 meetings, 30% of which are headaches, 50% of them which are mundane and I've got to get through it, that takes a level of enjoyment of the grind. And I think that the reason people burn out is not because they're putting in too many hours, it's because they don't enjoy it and they're anxious.
So true. And that stress is getting to them. Yeah. So you got to kind of enjoy the journey.
By the way, I burnt out in school. By 4th grade, I quit because I didn't enjoy it and I was anxious. I didn't enjoy the negative feedback. I didn't like the process. I didn't believe in it. And I struggled with it. And, I lived my entire childhood grinning and bearing with Monday through Friday. And I feel very empathetic and sympathetic for people that hate their jobs or their entrepreneurial ventures because I couldn't imagine living for the weekends like I used to.
Yes. Wow, that's a lot. I think it's so significant what you're saying, the idea of self-awareness and also just really being honest with yourself about what's going on with you and recognizing what the sweet spot is. Honestly, the way we can all work hard is to love the journey. If you love what you do, you can put more time and energy into it. One thing that you...
I want to just double click.
Yeah, go ahead.
I can feel people on the other side kind of glossing over the way you just recapped that. My friends, please listen. If you do not like it, it will not work. Like if you're doing a business for the money, one of the biggest reasons that people fail is they chase the current hot thing. They're into crypto, then they're into cannabis, then they're into real estate, then they're into AI. And they're chasing money. And chasing the short-term money is the #1 strategy that makes people fail. And so before we move on, I just want you to, it's not a hokey thing to say you have to enjoy the journey. It's the only sustainable thing. Look, I love my relationships, and to know that there are people around Earth that work directly with me, I basically judge my life based on how do the people closest to me view me. Especially now that I've lived a life where I have a public persona and a public life, I've had to really get comfortable with being judged without being known. And 85% of the time it's wonderful. People put me on a pedestal I don't think I even deserve. And then 15% of the time it's challenging because no one wants to be hated or disliked. But for me, I love knowing that the people that know me best like me the most. There's only one very small group that doesn't apply to. And it was the individuals that I was unable to be candorous with and then sloppily fired. So they don't view that I was upfront with them or that I was full of shit. And that bothers me tremendously. And so I wish I knew that candor was the vulnerability. I know we spoke on it earlier, but that's the truth. That's the answer to the question.